What's up, Pilty Sports Gamer? And Ron Rivera, I think, sees the writing on the wall. As everybody knows, the Commanders officially named Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator. The Washington Commanders have named Eric Bieniemy as the team news offensive coordinator and assistant head coach. The sides agreed on a 2-year deal that includes a promotion and title, contractual structure, and a pay raise. Bieniemy spent Friday talking to Washington's current assistant and is expected to be in Washington for the introductory news conference next week. Bieniemy spent the last 5 seasons as Kansas City's offensive coordinator, helping oversee an offense that powered 2 Super Bowl championships, including one last weekend. All you hear over the years from everyone, all the sports talk radios, ESPN, everywhere, saying, why isn't Bieniemy a head coach by now? He's been with Kansas City's 5 seasons, a lot of success on offense. And why hasn't he become a head coach? Mahomes have been a huge advocate for Bieniemy, but still, nothing. And even as Washington Commanders hire him as offensive coordinator, he's still not a head coach. And this is the line that is why me personally I think he's a little overrated, because in this sentence right here, he was not the primary play caller on Andy Reid's staff. In Washington, that will be different. He's going to be in charge of everything. But Andy Reid was the offense. He developed the plays. He's the one that made the calls. Bieniemy was just a middleman. All the credit is probably to Andy Reid and not Bieniemy. That could be one of the reasons why he hasn't gotten a head coach job in these last 4 years. Bieniemy replaces Scott Turner, who was fired January 10th after 3 seasons. During those 3 years combined, Washington ranked 27th in yards per game and 28th in points per game. Last season, the Commanders were 20th in yards, 26th in points. Washington will enter a crucial 4th season under head coach Ron Rivera. Commanders have gone a combined 22 and 27-1 in the first 3 seasons, winning the NFC East title with a 7-9 record in 2020. With the franchise up for sale, it's likely the Commanders will need a strong season for the staff to continue, and that's true. That's why Bieniemy was hired. That's why Rivera knows his time is up. If the Washington Commanders start off the season, say like 1-3, 1-4, 0-4, 2-5, Rivera's gonna be fired mid-season, in my opinion, and Bieniemy will take over and see what he could do. Bieniemy has interviewed several high head coaching jobs in the past. Let's look at some of the Bieniemy's history. He was a great college running back at the University of Colorado. 2-time first team Big 8 performer. Offensive Player of the Year honor as a senior. But in his pro career, he was average to below average. He wasn't a great running back. He played for the San Diego Chargers, which drafted him, Cincinnati Bengals, and Philadelphia Eagles. Bieniemy finished his NFL career 1,589 rushing yards, 1,223 yards receiving, 276 return yards, 1,621 yards on kickoff return, 12 touchdowns, 11 rushing, 1 kickoff. So as you can see, that's not great stats for someone who's been in the league for 9 years. He basically was a big-time backup, maybe a goal line rusher. So he wasn't a great player, but again, he lasted 9 years, so I can't say anything about him. Then he had his coaching career over here. So he started off in Colorado as a running backs coach, went to UCLA, same position. Minnesota Vikings, his first NFL gig as a running backs coach. Then this is weird, in Minnesota in 2010, he was assistant head coach, running backs coach. When you're assistant head coach, you would think you're in line to take over the head coach. But then he went back to his alma mater, Colorado, as the offensive coordinator. Then went back to the NFL in Kansas City as a running backs coach. Then as an offensive coordinator the past 5 years. And now he heads to Washington. So Bieniemy has interviewed for several head coaching jobs the past 4 off seasons without receiving any offers. And I want to get into that. I see an article about that. Why he hasn't gotten a head coach gig. You see a ton of offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators in their position for a year, 2 years, 3 years. My team, the 49ers, got Robert Saleh and DeMeco Ryans, who weren't there like 2 years, 3 years, and he got head coaching gigs at the Jets and Houston Texans. You got the Philadelphia offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, both young, getting jobs. So why hasn't Bieniemy? So there has to be a reason. Bieniemy has interviewed for several head coaching jobs in the past 4 seasons without receiving any offers. This year, he interviewed for Indianapolis Colts head coach coach position, that job went to Shane Steichen, the Philadelphia guy, as I said before. Patrick Mahomes said, it's so past deserved. He's done everything the right way. He's been a part of this offense for this team so long, holds everybody accountable, is creative in making plays for us. I don't know why he hasn't been hired, but it's been great for us. Tennessee has showed interest in Bieniemy for offense coordinating position, but Titans never interviewed him and promoted Tim Kelly position. Bieniemy is not under contract for the Chiefs. Andy Reid said, Eric Bieniemy has been tremendous for us. I think he's tremendous for the National Football League. I'm hoping he has the opportunity to go somewhere and do his thing when he could run the show and beat Eric Bieniemy. And obviously he has. He's going to Washington as an offensive coordinator to see what he could do. He could see if he could turn that team around. That team has all the makings of a great team, great offense. They have running backs, wide receivers. All they need is a quarterback. So they need to add a quarterback. I don't know who they're going to add. They need to add a prime-time quarterback to run this offense and then think it can produce. So here's an article on this guy's thinking why he hasn't gotten a head coach position. Despite the Kansas City Chiefs offensive ranking 6th or higher in total offense passing and points scored each of the last 4 seasons, offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy has yet to be hired as a head coach in NFL. It's crazy that Bieniemy has gone 4 years without becoming a head coach. Even though teams like the Denver Broncos, Houston Texans, Miami Dolphins, just to name a few, have fired multiple head coaches during the last 4 years, they still won't hire Bieniemy. Fans have speculated as to why teams won't hire him. That's why I had speculated. There has to be a reason. He's interviewed so many times over the years. I know he's living in Andy Reid's shadow over the past 5 years, and Andy Reid has taken credit for the offense. I don't think any of the credit besides Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, of course, they're going to be on his side. But if all outside sources have given credit to Andy Reid, deservingly so. He runs an awesome offense, Philly and Kansas City when he was their coaches. Although it is not clear who exactly is calling the plays for the Chiefs on offense, multiple non-play calls received head coaching gigs in the past couple weeks. Some believe Bieniemy does not do well in job interviews. Although none of us are present during these interviews, we hear him in press conferences weekly, and then there's never been a complaint about the way he communicates to the media. So why don't they hire him? There's a lot of questions. And like you said, nobody's been in the interviews. Maybe he chokes during the interviews. Maybe he can't really answer the questions the teams want to hear. Maybe he's not positive. Who knows? But he hasn't got coaching gigs. Still hasn't. He's in Washington as the offense coordinator, not as a head coach. But he is going to be the head coach in waiting. In my opinion, definitely Ron Rivera's last year in Washington. Others have mentioned his troubled past. Though it's been a very long time since some of his incidents, there's been a possibility that Bieniemy has turned down some offers. But would he really keep turning down head coach offers for 4 years in a row? Fans are almost out of ideas as to why he can't land a head coaching job. No way he's rejected head coaching jobs. No way. Teams didn't want him for some reason. One theory has not been discussed, much of the fact that Bieniemy is coaching a talented offense with Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. These players who are among the best at their respective position, arguably the best quarterback, tight end, receiver trio in the past 4 years. Look at Josh McDaniels. He's the offensive coordinator for the Patriots when they nearly went 19-0, broke several offensive records. When McDaniels was hired to be head coach of the Broncos in 2009, these talented players on offense in New England did not come in the package deal with him to Denver. McDaniels struggled and was fired before being able to complete his second season with the Broncos. Yes, McDaniels was hired by the Raiders, but this is after making the playoffs this past season with Mac Jones as his quarterback. It was New England's first time making the playoffs without Tom Brady. It is likely that teams fear Bieniemy might not live to the hype because whichever of the 31 other teams he takes over for, he won't even come close to the same amount of success since his elite trio won't come with him. With that said, that should not be held against Bieniemy, and I totally agree. That should not be a reason why he's not getting a head coaching, because those future teams are not going to have Mahomes, Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. That's BS in my opinion. It's not his fault that Kansas City's front office has done a great job of drafting well, bringing in the right players to help his team reach an AFC championship 4 years in a row. Keep in mind, it's just a theory. There are many theories to why Bieniemy has not become a head coach by now. Fans inside, outside Kansas City are puzzled by this, leading to many questions and a lot of speculation. Bieniemy might succeed, he might fail without his trio, we don't know. But he does not mean he should be shunned. He deserves a shot. I agree with that. He deserves a shot. With all these horrible head coaches hired nowadays, he deserved his shot, and he will get it in Washington. He needs to prove himself as the offensive offensive coordinator, finally not under the shadow of Andy Reid. We'll see what he does. I suspect they're going to try to get a Big Ten quarterback to run this offense, and if they do, he is going to succeed, and he will probably be the head coach of the Washington Commanders either this year if they start off badly, or definitely next year. So guys, let me know what you think. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Thanks. See ya.